Hi, everyone. I'm Jim Benson, and I'm a process guy, and I'm a psychology guy, and I'm an urban planning guy, and I'm a design engineer guy, and I'm a fiction author guy, and all of those things collide in this book that I've written. But today I want to talk about value stream mapping and when we work with teams. So a lot of you that watch this are agile or lean coaches, people who work in organizational design, people who are project managers. And people are predictably irrational. Characters are people, so they're worse. And they're worse because you think you have control over them. And as you start to work through your way of writing through a piece of fiction, you realize that the characters that you're writing about, you have about as much control over them as the people that you work with, meaning that you can put them in a system, but then that system is going to do things to them whether you like it or not. So people, you're working with a group of people and they're working just fine. Everything's fine. And they'll go through all these different stressful things. They'll rise to the occasion and rise to the occasion. And then like one day, a person that you have like total faith in will just kind of lose it over something that doesn't seem that important to you. And so you're like, what are you doing? What is wrong with you? And so that they hit some trigger. And that trigger is something that is either like it's the straw that broke the camel's back kind of trigger, or it's the this reminds me of this other situation trigger, or it's the oh my God, I feel like I'm losing control trigger. There's any number of triggers, or it could be the trigger of, I was fine over the last 5 weeks when everything was going okay, but now I've got 2 sick family members and I've got this problem and that problem, and now I just can't take anymore. So it can be an ambient trigger that people have reached. And so when that happens, there's this like natural response to just say, wow, that's weird. You probably shouldn't do that, dude. But what really should happen is that we should be like, where did that come from? How can I help? How can I get rid of that? And when it's other people and they're doing this thing, it's undeniable. But when you're writing a character, you're like, oh, well, that character wouldn't do that. So I'll get back to that in a second. So it strikes me that this is kind of a weird form of fundamental attribution error. And fundamental attribution error kind of blames people for the state of something because they're the last one with it. So if you're working on a project and it's on schedule, and you give it to Larry, and then all of a sudden it's behind schedule, you want to hold Larry accountable and blame Larry for it. But what might actually have happened was Larry just happens to be the part of the system where the complexity was, and it blew up, and everyone should have known it was going to blow up, but no plan survives contact with Larry. So people have a bunch of baggage and a bunch of past triggers, but what's happened is that they're also sentient in the sense that they sense things. And so sensing emotions are all part of work. We don't treat it like that. And so what happens is and this happens frequently to characters in the book, where they reach a point where they just can't deal with the weird, with the threatening, with the change that's going on. Not surprisingly, a book like by me has that sort of thing. So this character here is Jules. He's a fun character. He gets all the best lines. He's super sarcastic. And finally, at one point, he reaches a breaking point, and the main character, Laura, who's kind of the Jim character of the book, when she happens that, she doesn't yell at him, buck up, kid, and go for it. She treats it like, oh my God, this is like a thing. Why is this happening now? And why should this event with this person teach us something. But what happened for me frequently is this line here. I found myself saying, this person wouldn't do that. Because in my head, I had built out this character arc for this person and the way that they relate to things, the way they react to things. But that's not the way humans work. And the same thing's true for Jules here. That Jules is just as predictably irrational and weird as any other group of people. So our plans don't survive contact with reality or with the enemy or however we want to say that. And it's because we actually believe that our assumptions are the way that things should work. And when we believe that things are the way things should work, then we believe that that's the way things should work. And if they don't, somebody needs to be held accountable. But every project we ever have, things go weird. A piece of technology breaks, something goes wrong. So we've got the emotional part of the humans showing up as humans. We've got the tech screw ups of tech showing up as tech, and in the end, we have this major element of our work, which is that the system doesn't care how great our plans were. The system is going to do what it does, and we need to respond. So people change. And so this is the key thing here. So for me, every value stream mapping exercise, every A3 that I've ever done involves getting people from a current state to a future state. And they know kind of at the beginning what they want that future state to be or what they expect it to be, but it never is. And so that delta between their expectations and where they actually end up, that is change for them. And it actually ends up being a personal internal change. It's not just like, oh, that's different than I thought it was going to be. That's different than I thought it was going to be. And now I, in the future, am going to respond differently or try to things like this because I see now that I made this plan and it didn't quite go there. So people have epiphanies on a different schedule than you do, or than they do, or than they do compared to other people. The epiphanies arrive when they arrive. And quite often they will arrive at a point where it's inconvenient for you, or somebody's like, oh my God, we should be doing this instead. And you're like, no, we're going this way. And we don't recognize that their personal character arc is one that you've got to be on board for because they've just figured out that thing that needs to change. Systems want things to be predictable. We want to decrease the role of variation in our work. Well, right now we are swimming in variation soup. And so we have to acknowledge that now more than ever, we are in such an overload of unknowns that yes, we have to go back and do the Deming stuff and the lean stuff to reduce as much variation as we possibly can. But to understand right now that our major struggle in life is just dealing with the amount of ambient variation that there is out there. There is no predictability right now for people. And there are a lot of other people who are not nice, who are trying very hard to make sure that that's a thing. So all of these are themes that are in the book. And still the book maintains its humor. It's still very funny. And obviously has a lot of coffee in it. But people who are alive, people who are in the teams that you have, people who are in this book, they learn, they change, they go from their previous state to their current state to their future state on different paths, different trajectories. And that can feel inconvenient at times, but it's also what makes us all human. It's what makes us all people. So the big message for this, number one, of course, is to go to tightnots.com and help me launch the book. But the other part of this is that when you're working with people, please try and have that space to recognize that people are encountering what you're encountering in a different way, and that their responses, even if they're inconvenient, can be incredibly helpful to making sure that you do the right thing at the right time with the right people. So my, my bit for today.